HogvilleNET YouTube Live. It's my post game. I'm Kevin McPherson. What a big win. Some people thought it was a must win. I wasn't sure it was quite there, but after watching a couple of bubble teams in the SEC today, teams competing with Arkansas bubble line, according to ESPN Joe Lenardi, a couple of those bubble teams getting home wins, quad one home wins over ranked teams. And so coming into today, I didn't necessarily think this was a must win. You're getting close to that territory. I think Arkansas needs 3 of the last 5. Tonight was one of those 5. But after watching both Vanderbilt on its home court, Oklahoma on its home court, taking out teams ranked in the between top 20 and 25, and Ole Miss and Mississippi State, those were quad one wins. Teams ranked also in the 20s in net. Arkansas actually got a better win at home. All of these games were narrow margins. I think Oklahoma won by 6, Vandy by 5 over Ole Miss, Oklahoma by 6 over Mississippi State, Arkansas by 7 points. So a little bit better, but it's also a team that's ranked higher, not only in the AP poll, but in the net rankings. Missouri came in with a big win over an Alabama team we know has been earmarked as a 1 seed and a contender to return to the Final Four, one of the top 3 teams in the SEC. This Missouri team was coming off that win. It was their last of 3 wins against top 5 ranked teams. When you also look at a road win over Florida, beating Kansas on its home court back when the Jayhawks were number 1. We know Kansas isn't that good, but we know Florida and Alabama are that good. And so this is a big win. 15th ranked Mizzou, Arkansas exacts revenge. Remember, Arkansas started 0-5 in the SEC, and that 5th loss was by 18 points on the road to Missouri. Arkansas built a double-digit lead in the second half and had a chance to win this game by 10 or more points. And I thought, just kind of hung on there. What I said in this last segment that I had a few days ago after the Auburn loss was this Arkansas team. I finally realized the identity of this team, and it's that it constantly playing 2 opponents: the team on the other end of the bench, and then itself. And there were times tonight, especially in that first half, where it looked like here we go again. But Arkansas offensively in this game, this is a team Arkansas is getting better and better defensively. Came into today, KenPom 18th, so inside the top 20 in KenPom defensive efficiency, 18th in the country, but outside in the 80s, 82nd or 83rd, I think, in KenPom today. Arkansas was really good on offense, Not 3-point shooting in the first half, but really good on offense, manufacturing free throw attempts, getting all the way to the basket. I mean, Arkansas, this wasn't a mid-range shooting game inside the arc for Arkansas. It was getting in the paint and getting all the way to the rim. There were several heroes in this game, but I think the biggest one, I think the guy that really set the tone in both halves to keep Arkansas afloat when it trailed by 7 at halftime was Nelly Davis. Nelly Davis got off to a good start. Arkansas has not been, mentioned this, they've been a better road team than at home, and Nelly has shot better on the road than he has at home. But 18 big points tonight. He looked like an all-SEC performer, which is what his preseason billing was. And we know he's gotten better, but the shooting at home, it's not been there for him. 5 of 11 from the field, that's good. 3 of 7 from 3, that's really good, especially on a night where Arkansas only made 6, so he had half of them. 3 of 7 from 3, that's really good percentage, and 5 of 6 at the foul line for his 18 points. 4 assists, 4 steals, a couple of rebounds. He did have 3 turnovers, but a box score plus 11 when he played 39 minutes in a game you won by 7. So that's the first name and first stat line I'm going to get to. I'm going to jump back now to what this means. I mentioned Arkansas was really good offensively, especially in the second half. Arkansas's defense wasn't so good in the first half, giving up 48 points. Much better in the second half, much better in that final 20 minutes. But you look at the percentages, I'm going to give them second half for both teams. Later on, we'll get to the final stats and what these teams did on the final look at it. But in the second half, Arkansas was 14 of 25 shooting, 56%. Again, a lot of that was getting downhill, but 5 of 8 from 3, 62.5%. The Hogs were 1 of 10 at halftime. Missouri was 8 of 19 at halftime. That was the difference and why Missouri led by 7, because Arkansas was getting in transition, points off turnovers and in the paint, but just getting clobbered in the 3-point line. But 5 of 8 in the second half, 18 of 24 at the foul line in the second half. 24 free throws. Yes, some of that was in the last 2 minutes when Missouri was trying to stop the clock and lengthen the game and, see if Arkansas would choke at the foul line. But 18 of 24, 75%. When you look at the final 4 minutes of this game, Arkansas was 9 of 10 at the free throw line, 9 of 10 coming down the stretch. I put this in my tweeted, quoted headline that links my HogvilleNET article that I've already got up. I've just got to add quotes and more player stats and team stats to it. But I've already got that out. But I mentioned this team was clutch. There's no other way to look at it. This was a 1-point deficit for Arkansas with about 11 minutes to go. And then Arkansas takes over from there, outscoring Missouri by 8, 34-26 in the final 11 minutes and 9 seconds. The Hogs were up 11 with 6 minutes to go. And that's when Theo started cramping up, had to leave, a hamstring injury, something. Trevor Brazile came in. Oh, no. It was a quick 5-0 Missouri run. Brazile has a turnover on an out-of-bounds play. Missouri gets a 3 off of that. Now it's gone from 11 to 6, just like that. Now you're wondering, with over 5 minutes to go, how does Arkansas cross the finish line? Billy Richmond fouled out late. We know this is a top 8 rotation. You saw Missouri bringing all kinds of players in, guys that were effective off their bench. Arkansas's got to make it work with a makeshift crew. Big Z, after going scoreless on the road, an off-shooting night for him against Auburn, a game Arkansas had a chance to win despite that, getting nothing from its front line, by the way, in that game. Big Z, 20 points tonight. He had 9 in the first half and 11 in the second half, so very good game from him. And most of that came from other places than the three-point line. We're used to seeing, when he scores that kind of volume, him hitting 3, 4, 5 triples. Tonight, 6 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, and a perfect 7 of 7 at the foul line. Not a big rebounding night for him. He got abused around the basket some, 4 rebounds. He did have 2 blocks, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, played 27 minutes. But offensively, a big game for Z. And I talked about Arkansas 9 of 10 at the foul line in the last 40 minutes. I think all of that was a combination of DJ Wagner and Big Z. And it was Wagner who missed only one free throw tonight, and that was when he missed it. Was it there down the stretch? But I put down some bad stats for DJ. He was 8 of 10 from the free throw line. I wrote down something else, but I know. So DJ tonight, 17 points. Speaking of him, 4 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 8 of 10 at the foul line. So here was a guy that was shooting 75% as a freshman at Kentucky. He was shooting 75% for most of this season. I kept saying in these close margin games that Arkansas was losing, where he'd miss a free throw or two, I'm like, man, your guards have really got to make them. They need to be 78 to 80%. Well, he's improved in this stretch of games where Arkansas's played better. He's at 79% on the season now, but 8 of 10 tonight, so he was just even a tick better at 80%. You have to have that from your top players. Carter Knox, once again in double-figure scoring. He led Arkansas in scoring with 17 points in that close loss at A&M. He was back in double figures, 11 points against Auburn. Tonight, 14 points for Carter Knox, 5 of 7 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 3 of 4 at the foul line. A couple of rebounds, a steal. He did have 2 turnovers, but 36 minutes in a box score plus 11. So both he and Nelly were box plus 11. You saw Adu Theo tonight. I mentioned he was out with about 6 minutes to go. 11 points, 4 of 9 from the field, only 3 of 6 at the foul line. He did have 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, those 26 minutes. But here was what I thought down the stretch. I think Arkansas, if he stays in the game, wins this game by 15. I do. He was plus 19 in his 26 minutes. When he was on the court, Arkansas was that much better. We've seen other games, win or lose, where his box score is higher than the rest of the Hogs. There's a reason for that, because he's tough defensively. He makes it a little harder on teams to just own the glass. And then those bully ball plays can be demoralizing and really help Arkansas. Arkansas missed that down the stretch, but again, the free throw line was good. And you had those last 4 or 5 minutes, I mentioned the free throw shooting, a couple of big baskets. Trevor Brazile scored for the first time in 3 games. He'd been scoring for the other team in several games here, but he got a bucket in transition. Arkansas was great in transition tonight, but he got a dunk in transition. Big Z got a tip in. So Arkansas did get a couple of baskets late, just enough in concert with shooting well at the foul line to ice this game. Again, 92 to 85. Arkansas defeats number 15 Missouri. This team was ranked 13th in net, 12th or 13th in net coming into today. So this is another win for Arkansas against a top 20 net team. They're 4-1 now. Let's talk resume, then we'll get back to the game and go through some of the critical stages of it. Arkansas now is 4-9 in quad 1 wins. It's their first quad 1 home win of the season. But Michigan, ranked top 20 in net, beat them at a neutral site. Kentucky, ranked inside the top 20 in net, beat them on the road. Texas, ranked top 35 in net, beat the Longhorns on the road. So this is Arkansas's third out of these 4 Q1 wins, third against a team ranked inside the top 20 in net. I'm telling you, this is going to help Arkansas. The Hogs had actually moved up on Friday in Lenardi's bracketology after back-to-back road losses because they were so competitive, because of the net value of both Texas A&M and Auburn. Arkansas went from the second to last team on the last 4 in to the second team in the last 4 in. So actually moved up a spot after those 2 losses. After some early results today, Arkansas had actually slid down. I mentioned just two of the bubble teams in the SEC getting huge quad 1 wins at home. So Arkansas slid down to the final spot in the last 4 in list. I think by the time Arkansas finished, before Arkansas finished, Lenardi had moved them up to the 3rd spot on the last 4 in. So they've been up and down as results came in today. I think this win should. I haven't seen what Lenardi's done since. I think this win should move Arkansas ahead of both Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, and possibly into the last 4 byes, maybe as the last one. Because of some of the things I mentioned, Arkansas's got 4 wins away from home, 3 true road wins, and I mentioned the quality of those quad 1 wins combined with no bad losses when you look at quad. No quad 3, no quad 4 losses. Oklahoma, who got the big win over at Mississippi State today, had been on a 5-game losing streak. But they've only won 1 game on the road this season, and they have a bad quad loss. Quad 3 loss to LSU at home. So I think even though Oklahoma now has 5 quad 1 wins, Arkansas moves to 4. I think some of those qualities outside of just counting up how many quad wins, because Arkansas's quad 1 wins collectively are more impressive. Oklahoma has a neutral site win over Michigan, just like Arkansas. But you look at the road record and you look at the quad 3 loss, I think Arkansas's resume is just a little bit better than Oklahoma's. That's my opinion. So I think Arkansas should notch ahead. Now, Vandy, by winning today, is 6-8 in league play. Arkansas is 5-9. Texas was losing at South Carolina. We've talked all year long about how close South Carolina's been at home. It can't win a league game. I'm sure Carolina beat Texas by double digits. Texas was Lenardi's number 1 team on the last 4 byes. That's a bad enough loss, especially losing by double digits with what other bubble teams did today, where that could really jumble things up and maybe be enough to send Texas down to the last 4 in group. I don't know that it will be, but I think there's a chance that Arkansas slots up again out of these last 4 in into the last 4 byes. I don't know what Lenardi's going to do. That's a guess as to what might happen. I'm not predicting it will, but maybe it does. And then Arkansas's got Texas at home in the midweek coming up. Arkansas just came off a 2-game losing streak. The Razorbacks need a 2-game home winning streak. This is their marquee win of the season at home. Look how deep we are into it. Arkansas is 16-11, 27 games in, 5-9 in SEC, 14 out of your 18 games in, and you finally get a marquee win at home. Yeah, you won league games that you had to have against Georgia and LSU. You had to have them. But this one, while it might not have technically been an end-all, be-all must-win, it's so close to that. Your margins are thin coming down the stretch as a bubble team. And this is not only a marquee home win, but again, it's a top 15 team in net. I don't know how much LSU will fall in net rankings, but it'll stick inside the top 20. And Arkansas, again, 41st in net, might just break through and climb inside top 40 in net after this one because of the quality, again, of this win. This is a good Missouri team. This Dennis Gates team shot lights out from 3 in the first half. Arkansas really did a better job defending the perimeter. I thought Arkansas was the superior team getting to the basket and in transition. But Arkansas finds ways to keep other teams in it. For example, Missouri with 18 turnovers tonight. Arkansas found a way to make that close, 16 turnovers. And I promise you, so many of Arkansas's turnovers are just those self-inflicted, unforced, what are you doing? Why can't control the ball, can't get out of your own way type of thing. Brazil fouls a 3-point shooter, and Caleb Grill, who's the last thing you want to do is give him 3 free throws. He knocks down all 3. I don't know how many times it looked like Arkansas had secured a defensive rebound only to have, somebody come from the blind side and they're not just taking care of the ball. They're not paying attention, knowing what kind of team Missouri is. Their style is to pester you in the backcourt after you get a defensive rebound. They're going to get into you before they're not running back on defense. And Arkansas played like they haven't looked at a scouting report, just very lackadaisical in a lot of this. Arkansas had 2 back-to-back out of bounds underneath their own basket turnovers. You don't see a ton of those in one game for Arkansas, but in this game, they had in back-to-back possessions after going up 1. They had that plus a lane violation on a free throw bunched together, and they went from up 1 to down 3. This is what I'm talking about when I say Arkansas can't get out of its own lane. It plays itself in addition to the opponent. But at the end of the day, Arkansas was just so much better than Missouri. I thought Arkansas's backcourt was far superior. I thought Arkansas's front line was better. Even though Arkansas gave up a ton of offensive rebounds and second chance points in this game. And then Missouri hit just enough threes in the second half to find ways to keep that margin close enough. But the Razorbacks with a 7-point win. I talk about being on the bubble. I still think with 4 games to go, Arkansas still needs 2 wins. I don't think the Hogs can afford to go 1-3 and expect to be projected into the dance going into the SEC tournament. I think 2 wins probably is enough. 3 wins locks it up. You go 4-0 combined with tonight's win. And I don't even think we're not only not talking about bubble, but we're talking about, did you do enough going to the SEC tournament to potentially be projected as a 7 seed? Not even an 8-9 that would have to play a 1. Win these last 5 games, because look, if you do that, you're getting 2 Q2 wins and 2 quad 1 wins in there. That's what that value would be. Arkansas would go to 6 quad 1 wins. They'd have a winning record in their quad 2 matchups with no bad losses. And again, I mentioned the road and away record would get even better, because in these last 4 that remain, you have two on the road. So there's a lot of possibilities for Arkansas here. This is a team, I want to remind everybody, now that we're 14 games into league play, Arkansas has only had 1 winning streak, a 2-game winning streak, and that was back-to-back road wins over Kentucky and Texas. So we've not seen any semblance, really, of a team that can string together multiple wins. If you're going to do it, you love it to be heading into March at this time of year. And let's not forget, Arkansas started 0-5. They're now 5-4 in the 9 games since then. So what is it showing us? It's showing us that at minimum, this team can win 1, lose 1, win 1, and cobble together a finish here with 2 to go. If you just split those, again, I said coming into today, I've said it for a while, 3 wins out of the last 5 is what you need. Now you need 2 wins out of your last 4. You don't have to win more than you lose now. You could break even. And the way this Arkansas team's been, that's probably the safest projection to make for this team. But all 4 of these games are winnable too. So Arkansas, in theory, they're winnable. Why not go on a run finally break through and string together successive wins? I think the other question mark is, with Arkansas's numbers so thin, how severely injured is Adu Thero? I mean, he didn't play the last 6 minutes. He was hobbling over there. If it's bad enough, they're gonna have to rest that, especially growing injuries, hamstring injuries, high ankle sprains, any lower leg, any of these leg below your torso injuries. Typically, you need rest and time because they can be problematic. But I can't speak to how serious it is. But that's something to keep an eye on as you try to figure out a way to get through these last 4 games and at least win 2. I think if you pick up 2 wins, you've done enough going into the SEC tournament to maybe you're still on the bubble going 2-2, but you're probably projected in. Then you get into a danger place. Can you suffer a bad loss in the SEC tournament? Well, no, because if Arkansas only goes 2-2 the rest of the way, the Hogs will not finish 9th. Right now, I think today they came in 12th in the standings with Vandy winning. Arkansas was not able to pull into a tie with Vandy. And so Arkansas, I think, remains in 12th place. No, Texas actually, with losing, slipped. So Arkansas probably moved into 11th place in the standings. But Arkansas would have to be 9th to play the 16 seed, which is South Carolina. South Carolina's in the mid-90s in net, would have to be outside the top 100, 101 or worse, for a Arkansas loss in the SEC tournament to count as a quad 3 loss, which would be the team's first bad loss. The road game won't count anything other than quad 2 because you get more leeway on a true road game than you do in net ranking than you do in a neutral site game, which is what the SEC tournament will be. But Arkansas would have to finish 9th to even be there. Plus, South Carolina's win over Texas tonight at least keeps the Gamecocks inside the top 100. They'll move up a little bit for now. So I don't see any pathway where Arkansas, with at least 2 more wins at this time, doesn't at least sneak in as a bubble team. Go 3-1 in these last 4, you're safely in, and you're probably either at the very top of the last 4 buys as a 10 seed, or maybe you sneak in as a 9 seed somehow. And then if you win all 4, I think that are remaining, coupled with today, you'd have a 5-game winning streak. And maybe would need to split games and pick up a quad. You'd be really close to potentially playing yourself into as good as a 7 seed. I know that sounds crazy right now, but there's a lot of there's still quad 1 wins on the table, and Arkansas can add to what they've done already. And again, I look at the away from home record. If you went out, you're going to pick up more there. You're going to be at 6 wins away from home, 5 on the road, with 4 of those going 4 and 5 on the road in the SEC is what you would have done if you went out. That's it's at least 6 quad 1 wins, and it's putting yourself in that conversation for something a little better than 8 or 9 seed potentially. Of course, it's not in a vacuum. It's what our other teams doing as well to finish out their seasons. But I think it's very interesting that you have so many. Georgia lost today, valiant effort, but lost by 12 at Auburn. Georgia's one of those, first 4 out group. Let's see if they're even still in that group or move to the next 4 out. Oklahoma was in the first 4 out group. Now, again, they were a notch above Arkansas after their win at home over Mississippi State, but before Arkansas and Missouri went final. So let's see if Arkansas is able to leapfrog OU and even Vandy. Again, Vandy, you see the SEC bubble teams, 3 of them taking care of business today, and then Texas laying an egg at South Carolina, and Georgia losing a tough game, but everybody predicted that at Auburn. You get mixed results, but most of the 3 of the 5 SEC teams on the bubble did what they needed to do. So the projections have been anywhere from 14 teams to 12. There's probably at least 13 projected in right now, maybe 14 as we look at it right now. Because I think certainly 9 are projected in safely, maybe another 4 in, so maybe 13 at this moment. Georgia's obviously in trouble of not being able to do enough now down the stretch to get back in there. We went through some of the players and some of these performances. I talked about Nelly, Big Z, DJ, Carter Knox, Adu Thero. So I went through the 5 guys that scored in double figures and went through all their stats. I want to talk a little bit about Jonas Adu because he had to play long stretches in this game, partly because of what Missouri was able to do, getting into Big Z on the offensive end. But Adu came in, and I thought he did a good job. It was his best game in a long time. He had 6 points. He made a couple of buckets. He got a dunk and a paint and a nice little over-the-shoulder lefty finish. 2 of 2 from the field in the first half, and then he only made 2 of his 4 free throws, but at least he generated scoring opportunities getting to the free throw line and made a couple. So 6 points, he had 5 rebounds. Some of those were big down the stretch when Arkansas as a team was really struggling to prevent Missouri from. Missouri went cold, but they were getting second chance opportunities. Adu helped alleviate a little bit of that. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, only 1 turnover in his 15 minutes. But what I like, he was a box score +4 when he was in the game. So Jonas Adu was not a negative factor or a barely more than a 0 factor tonight. He actually played heavily into Arkansas' success tonight when you look at it relative to what he's been doing. Box +4 in 15 minutes, and he was productive. I look at Billy Richmond, 4 points tonight, 2 of 4, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, a block. He did have 3 turnovers. He only played 11 minutes, but I thought, and he fouled out late in the game. He did some good things. I thought he had some poor stretches, but overall, I always feel like he helps impact Arkansas' success one way or another. Trevor Brazile, some more head-scratching plays tonight, but he did finish with that dunk late. Arkansas got 2 field goals late. He had one of them. Big Z got a tip in. He got a lob in transition. We know what he's going to do with that. So 2 points for him, 1 of 2 from the field. He shot a 3 in the first half. It didn't go in. A couple of rebounds. He had a turnover. That was a big one. When Mizzou was trying, after going down 11, hit 2 free throws, cut it to 9, press on the inbounds pass. Brazil throws it to them, to the Tigers, and they hit a 3. And now it's back down to 6, just like that. But 12 minutes for him. And this is what I'm talking about. You win by 7. Most all of your players, except for 2, were box score plus. You only had 2 that weren't. And one of those was a low box score minus, except Trevor Brazil, and his 12 minutes was a box score minus 12. So he made a play or 2 that helped. But the truth is, it really hurt Arkansas to have Thero out of that game the last 6 or so minutes and Brazil out there. I always tell it like it is. This guy has not been helping Arkansas as much as he hurt them. And we know what Thero is. He's not perfect, but he's the guy that his box is way up there. So, again, I say if Thero doesn't get hurt and he finishes this game, Arkansas wins by 15. You'll take the 7-point win. You'll take it any way you can get it. 16-11, 5-9 in the SEC, 5-4 in their last 9 games after starting 0-5 in league play. And I went through some of the numbers in the second half. Let's look at these team stats, these final team stats for the game. Arkansas, 29 of 53 from the field, 54.7%. Again, this is a team ranked in the 80s in KenPom. Very rarely do we see Arkansas shoot like this. The last time Arkansas probably shot this well or similarly was at Kentucky and for most of the game, I think at Texas, or good parts of that game. But back to it tonight, 29 of 53, 54.7%, 6 of 18 from 3. I like that stat, 33.3%. You made 1 out of 3, and you did not settle too much for threes. Arkansas tends to have games where they'll shoot 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 threes. No, keep it under 20. You were 1 of 10 at halftime. You were pacing 20 or more for the game, and you cut that down, and you were efficient on the ones you took. 5 of 8 from 3 in the second half, but 6 of 18. 28 of 37 at the foul line. You missed 9, okay, but 75.7%, that's higher than your season efficiency by about 3 percentage points, and the volume is so high. Arkansas shot 20 more free throws than Missouri, and that's what happens when you don't settle for threes and you attack the basket. That's what happens when you get out in transition and the other team is desperate to find ways to stop you. It's also what happens when you have a bit of a lead, a multiple possession lead in the last 2 minutes, and they got to foul you to stop the clock. So you want to play as a front runner at home coming down the stretch. Arkansas hasn't had a lot of games like that, but you did that. Again, you've got 1 quad 1 win at home. It's your only win at home against a ranked team, and we've seen Arkansas not get it done against Ole Miss, against Florida, against Bama, losing to OU. I mean, Arkansas needed to. 3-4 now at home. A losing record this late at home still, but Arkansas can fix that, and with 2 more home games, Texas and then Mississippi State on March 8th to close out the regular season, can get on the finish 5-4 there. And again, if you went out, you're going to finish 4-5 on the road, and so you would be. What does that tell you? You'd finish 9-9, exactly 500 in league play. And again, in this league, with some of the combination of things I said, believe it or not, it might get you as good as a 7 seed. Maybe not, but maybe. And then again, the SEC tournament would give you more opportunities to improve or not improve, depending upon what you do in that. So went through Arkansas shooting stats in this game. Again, it's rare to see this team be so good offensively. They're a better defensive team. But look at Missouri, 30 of 68, 44%. This was a team that was shooting 51% in the first half, but only 36% in the second half. Arkansas did a great job, held Mizzou to 12 of 33 from the field in the second half. So overall, 30 of 68, 44%, 12 of 36 from 3. The same percentage as Arkansas, 33%, but took twice as many threes. So they made twice as many. That could have been brutal, 12-6, but again, the free throw line disparity, Arkansas shot 20 more. Missouri 13 of 17 for 76.5%. Percentage-wise, just a little better than Arkansas. But this was the same number that Auburn shot, 13 to 17 for the foul line, when Arkansas was 7 of 14. And a 7-point loss, you were -6 in makes, and shot 50%, no chance you're beating that team, the number one team on the road doing that. Tonight, again, Arkansas 28 of 37, 20 more attempts, 15 more makes. You could say the game was won there, but I think it was won in other areas as well. Let's go through those. Again, Arkansas -2 in turnovers, or +2 in turnovers, 18 to 16, but clobbered the Tigers in points off turnovers, 30 to 14, more than doubled them up. Fast break scoring, Arkansas 22 to 4. This was the identity, +18. This was the identity of this team coming out of non-conference. There just haven't been enough games like this. And the only way Arkansas scores 92 at home is to get easy scores. They're not good enough offensively. And it's why the shooting percentage was so good. Right. Arkansas is not knocking down a ton of mid-range shots or three-pointers. They're getting into the basket, and they got a lot of that in transition. 22 to 4, +18. Points in the paint, Arkansas +16, 44 to 28. Now, some of that are those transition buckets, right? Because if you're going in and getting easy scores, you're getting them around the basket, you're getting in the paint. So 44 to 28, still dominant points in the paint. Where Arkansas got beat up, it did a better job in the second half. Arkansas in the first half was -12 in rebounds overall, 20 to 8, and -8 in offensive rebounds, 9 to 1. In the second half, Arkansas narrowed that gap. They finished -7, 35 to 28 total rebounds, -9. So the margin went up on offensive rebounds from Missouri by 1 in the second half. They were +8 in the first, 17 to 8. But second chance points, 17 to 9. It didn't destroy Arkansas. Almost doubled up there, +8 for Mizzou. But again, Arkansas was +15 at the foul line and big margins everywhere else. Turnovers, fast break, paint. The bench scoring, again, this is where Arkansas with a bench, it's not a point giving bench. It's not a point producing bench. 41 to 12, +29 for Mizzou. That's what we know happens just about every game. That's where Arkansas, it's really glaring. Steals, Arkansas 11 to 8. 11 steals, get live ball turnovers. That's how you get it out in transition. Arkansas has typically the best team in the block shot department. That was the case again, 4 to 1. Razorbacks assist. Missouri had one more, 15-14. Who cares? Arkansas got a lot of mono on mono on those drives. Guys just putting their head down and getting in the paint, getting to the basket. I mentioned Nelly Davis. He was a guy that did hit a couple of mid-range shots, had those 3 threes, got to the basket a couple of times, got to the free throw line. We know he's lights out there, 5 of 6. That's right around his percentage. High 80s, so maybe a little below, but what a game he had. Big Z offensively, especially late at that free throw line. DJ Wagner, every big game Arkansas's had, it's been a big second half for him. And, that was the Michigan game, huge second half. The Kentucky game, huge second half. He did it again tonight. I don't remember exactly what he had at halftime, maybe 4 or 6 points. Arkansas had 3 players with 9 points in the first half. I think it was Carter Knox, Nelly Davis, and Big Z. So DJ had less than 9 for sure, but he ends up with 17. So had a strong second half in terms of scoring. And again, a lot of that at the foul line, 8 of 10. You'd like to see him clean up the turnovers a little bit. He did have 3 assists and 3 turnovers. So you want his assisted turnovers to minimum be 2 to 1, 3 to 1 would be sweet. We went through everybody's stats. We went through the team stats. This has got to make Razorback fans feel better about this team. Again, Arkansas is a bit of an enigma at home. This was their best home game because it was their best win at home, and they finished the game right. This is where your home court advantage has got to kick in. Look, this was a scenario where Arkansas this weekend honoring the 89-90 Final Four team. I covered that team back in the day for the Arkansas Gazette. I covered that Final Four team. I actually had a Final Four assignment. I didn't get to go to Denver, but I had to do a teleconference reporting on the post-game press conference when Arkansas lost to Duke in the national semifinals. So I had to write a story based on the reactions by Arkansas's coaching staff, players, and Duke's coaching staff and players. So I did that from Little Rock, but I covered that team. I covered some of those games in Barnhill, and I think that team, I got to go to one road trip, Lubbock, Texas, when they played Texas Tech in the old Southwest Conference. But that team was honored today. That's one of Nolan Richland's, the first of his 3 Final Four teams as head coach at Arkansas, a Naismith Hall of Famer. He was in the house. His longtime assistant and former Arkansas head coach Mike Anderson was in the house tonight. You can't lose this game. Missouri, Anderson coached at Missouri. Brazil played at Missouri. You can't lose this game if you're Arkansas. You needed it. It may not have been 100% must win for your NCAA tournament chances, but man, it's as close as anything. It's as close as anything, and to be in that. And so you won it. You had to if you were Arkansas. All right, 35 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live postgame. I had every intention of being in Fayetteville today for this. I was actually going to do a morning show to preview it and this post game, and some things came up that kept me in Little Rock that I couldn't overcome. So one of those things, but I was able to cover the game, watch it. I've already got probably half of a story already published. I just need to add post game quotes and some more stats to that. So I want to thank you for joining me. If you haven't done it already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. That helps us out. The Arkansas Razorbacks, this was, again, one of those games, your fourth quad one win, your first one at home. And again, it's another one. 3 of those have come against teams ranked inside in the teens in net, inside the top 20. Those are going to stack up better than some other teams that have 4 quad one wins. When the majority of those will be on their home court and they're outside the top 20. Some of those that are at home, they have to be inside the top 30, but they're maybe a little outside the top 20. And then some of the away ones that you beat a team in the 60s or 70s. Again, Arkansas's got two against away from home. One was a true road win against teams ranked in the teens in net, and Texas is another one in the mid-30s. Texas is going to tumble, though. Texas might tumble outside 40 and be somewhere where Arkansas is now at 41 after losing by getting blown out. Somebody's asking me about what can I say about Calipari working up NIL money for Nate Ament, the 2025 5-star. I think it's obvious that Arkansas is not worried in this scenario about being in a numbers game. They have plenty of NIL money, but they know at the end of the day, they want to win the portal recruiting. They want to win the high school recruiting. Top 5 ranked in both in this first class, this team we see now. So to do that, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, but you are going to prioritize guys. There'll be limits. But everything I'm hearing on the backside, on the kind of behind the scenes, is this is an NIL spin-up situation, and Arkansas hadn't thrown its hands up and given up on that. Calipari continues to pursue Nate Ament. When does it materialize into a visit? That's the question mark. Will it? Calipari thinks so because he continues to go out and see this guy. Has consistently since September, a couple of times in the past couple of weeks. Took 2 other staffers with him, both associate head coaches, Kenny Payne and Chin Coleman, the last time out a few days ago. That tells me that he thinks he's going to get a visit. And if he thinks he's going to get a visit, he thinks he's going to close a deal. Doesn't mean it'll happen. You asked. That's where I am with that. I think Arkansas believes it's going to get him in. You got 2 more home games now where you could do that. That's against Texas midweek this week. And then a Saturday, March 8th, the final regular season game against Mississippi State. There are other times he could visit. I've been told by a source going back to December that he heard the guy was coming in to visit Arkansas at some point in conference play, for a home game, to be there when Arkansas's got a basketball game. That hasn't happened. There's not a lot left for that to happen. It could be a thing where Arkansas has been close to securing a date and getting him in, and they haven't been able to do it. But the fact that Arkansas is sticking in it and Calipari's sticking with it tells me that he thinks it's going to happen at some point. So, here's a guy that's the best to ever recruit. So he's got that going for him. He's not a guy that makes desperate moves and shows up to see players that aren't really interested. He's just not that guy. So you got a lot of factors that kind of make you think maybe this is coming. Maybe it's more than a maybe, and we just haven't heard yet. So that's what we're keeping our eyes on. Arkansas, this is the kind of player, too, at 6'9", and because he can stretch the floor, keep defenses honest, and he's a really good passer in 2-man game, whether it's a dribble handoff or a screen game, and he's popping or slipping screens or doing a shallow roll. He'll make great passes. He's not just a knockdown three-point shooter. He can shoot from anywhere. He can finish above the rim. He does need to add strength. But at 6'9", he gives you so much player personnel package versatility. You can use him as a small ball 4. You can use him as a big wing. He can handle the ball and initiate offense. He's really good. He's right. There's a reason he's the third ranked player in the country and a high level 5-star. They're all 5 stars are high level, but when you get inside that top 5, there might be a little something extra about you. And I just went through some of those traits. I could see why, with Arkansas's issues with shooting the three, and because Calipari likes guys that can do more than just shoot, and he kind of recruits that way. I mean, this is kind of a win-win. And so I can understand it. You've got a top 5 rated class as it is, and this gives you a little more length, height, and a knockdown shooter to boot. So that it adds a ton of wrinkles to what you can do and make teams try to plan for and account for and keep them guessing. So I understand it. I do. I think Arkansas is going to go heavy in the portal. I talked about throughout a portal potential name, a guy that Calipari recruited to Kentucky, ended up at Arizona State, a frontline guy, Jaden Quaintance. Last time I was on, I just threw that name out there and said, hey, let's just start talking portal names now. Maybe he's a guy that goes in the portal. He has to play another year of college. A former top 15 rated 5-star McDonald's All-American, 6'9", athletic as hell, strong for a young guy, a year younger than his class. He's got to play another year of college. Arizona State's a mess out there. Maybe he's got such a sweet NIL deal, no one's going to touch him or can't touch him, and he'll just stick where he's at and go pro, maybe not caring about it, about anything else. But maybe there's an opportunity for Arkansas to get in there. Another guy I'll throw out there that was committed, another frontline guy tonight that was committed, plays for Georgia, faced the Razorbacks, had some decent stats in the Hog game, is Somptu Cyril, the 6'10". He was a top 50 guy. Again, committed to Kentucky, ended up at Georgia after Cal came to Arkansas. Quaintance went to Arizona State. Cyril's averaging about 5 points and 5 rebounds and nearly 2 blocks a game, playing only 14 minutes a game. So his stats, let's not forget, Big Z he played 15 games last year as a freshman at Kentucky and averaged 11 minutes a game. His stats weren't stellar. It's when you look beyond stats and you start extrapolating out per 36 minutes. You do that for Somptu Cyril. Here's a guy averaging nearly a double-double and over 3 block shots per game. He's a man-child at 6'10", 6'11", with a big-ass frame. I mean, this is a guy and he's athletic. So I don't know. I'm not saying that these guys are going to come available. But maybe these are guys that were comfortable with Calipari and signed with him. And Arkansas went in a different direction. They spread money around for veteran frontline guys out of the portal instead of throwing money at frontline guys. And I understand that too, because it takes a while for guys to acclimate. But both of these players would have a year of freshman season, Quaintance and or Cyril, or however you pronounce Cyril's last name, Somptu, and have a year under their belt with some good work done. So just 2 names. I have no inside knowledge that they are on Calipari's radar moving forward, but why not start talking portal? We'll expand that every time I come on. I'm going to talk about somebody else as a potential portal guy you might want to have. But I think it's fascinating. Anytime you're on the bubble, you're sweating bullets coming down. And this was better than the alternative. I think had Arkansas lost this game, I think still 3 out of their last 4. But again, I've said it. Arkansas is not a team that strings together, bunches together wins in league play. They got 1 2-game winning streak. They can have a second 2-game winning streak against Texas if they can win at home on Wednesday. I mean, Arkansas has been a better road team. Tonight was the first game against quality that Arkansas finally found a way to look good at home. I kept tweeting in the first half and a little bit in the second half these self-inflicted wounds situations where Arkansas just can't get out of its own way. The Razorbacks just find ways to keep the other team in it. And there was some element of that even down the stretch. Missouri had 2 or 3, 3 shots at rim possessions because they kept getting offensive rebounds. Got a big 3 off of one of those by Trent Pierce. Got a put back on another one. I mean, this is what we've seen from this Arkansas team. They just can't close. But they did because Missouri really didn't have an answer for Arkansas's offense. The offense of all things. Arkansas kept scoring. And then when Missouri was fouling, Arkansas was making enough free throws. This is not the Razorback team we've seen offensively most of this season, and you got to love this. If you're a Razorback fan, you've been getting owned by Missouri. You got owned by Missouri in football again. You got beat down by 18. Arkansas has 2 blowout losses in league play. Tennessee in the opener, and then the game 5 of the 0-5 start at Mizzou. Boogie Flan, that was the last game he played. I don't even know if I'm comfortable saying Arkansas is a better team without him. Guys have stepped up because he was out, because there was more pressure on them, and more opportunity for them. Guys like Nelly Davis, even to some degree DJ Wagner, Carter Knox is getting a lot more minutes and a lot more opportunities offensively, and he's learned what he is and how to play to his best ability. He's not chasing shots like he did early in the year and even through the first several games of SEC play. He's taking better shots. He understands what he is, and he's efficient. He's an efficient guy. Billy Richmond getting more minutes and opportunity. He plays on the ball for Arkansas quite a bit. Again, only 4 points tonight, but 5 rebounds, 3 assists. It always seems like he gets a big block. I thought he had a second block where they called a foul on him. I thought he got a clean block. All right, 45 minutes in, Arkansas takes care of business against 15th ranked Missouri. And that score, 92-85, surprises me a little bit because I know Missouri likes to get up and down, but Arkansas, and even look at the home games. They've been grind games, even winning 5 of these last 9, going 5-4. You won, what was it, 65-62 when Adu Thero scored the last, 3 points on a free throw, missed free throw, and then a stick back to end that game. 65-62. You lost 68-65 the next game at home to OU. You did get in the 80s against Alabama. You had a big comeback, furious comeback in the last 6 minutes. I think it was 85-81 was at the final, so you did get to 81. But then LSU, another grind game. You got to 70-58, but it was another grinder. Arkansas has just not been good offensively, especially at home. And they fixed that tonight. And it was everybody. Again, Nelly Davis, Big Z, DJ Wagner, at least manufactured free throws, and he hit enough shots. And he did hit a 3 in the second half. Carter Knox, again, efficient guy. Adu Thero doing what he does. You'd like to see him. He's been struggling at the free throw line. His point production's gone down. He had a couple of poor games. LSU, again, against Texas A&M. He bounced back against Auburn with a 16-point game, but back down again tonight with 11 points. But remember, he didn't play the last 6 minutes, and he only made 3 of 6 at the foul line. He's a guy that's had good free throw shooting games, but a ton of bad ones. And he's been a guy that was a low 60s free throw shooter, had a stretch where he was really good at the foul line, got above 70. He entered tonight back below 70 at 69%. That's going to fall even more after this 3 of 6 performance at the foul line. But still, 26 minutes, he interjects 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple of steals in that box score plus 19. Arkansas had to have him. And you like to see a little spark from Jonas Adu. Can he build on this? Arkansas can use more than one guy, Big Z, scoring, in the post. What's wrong with having somebody else chip in? I wish Jonas Adu and Trevor Brazil collectively believe what I'm saying. There should be something there more than there have been. And again, Adu tonight, 6 points and 5 rebounds, a block, an assist, only 1 turnover in 15 minutes, which was a lot of time for him on the court, and a box plus 4. I know I'm repeating that, but I'm kind of running back through some of these important things. I think Arkansas should be favored against Texas at home. And, Arkansas, to me, in the one game that Arkansas wasn't battling itself, the refs jumped in and helped Texas. So it was still 5 on more than 5. Usually it's Arkansas's 5 against their 5 and their own 5. That night, Arkansas was up 23, not doing much wrong. And then the refs in the second half jumped in and said, let's get Texas some help here. So Arkansas at home, you want to see them get another win at home. I mentioned only 1 2-game winning streak in league play. Those were road games. So this is your first opportunity to win, or you've had opportunities to win back-to-back at home. You didn't. You beat Georgia, you lost to LSU. You lost to Bama, then you beat LSU, then you went back on the road. This is an opportunity to win back-to-back at home. You had a chance early in that 0-5 start to win back-to-back at home. You had early leads against both Ole Miss and Florida and lost those games. So you went 0-2 in that home stretch. So this is Arkansas's opportunity now to correct all of that and say, all right, we can't change that, but we're gonna prove we can win consecutive home games. As crazy as that sounds, for as much success as this program's had, even in its down years at home, sometimes this is one of those unremarkable seasons inside Bud Walton Arena for this Razorback team. All right, we've said just about everything. I don't know what I've left out. I really didn't talk about Missouri. Caleb Grill went off in the first half, 13 points off the bench. Seemed like he didn't miss. Hit a couple of threes, hit 3 free throws after Brazil fouled him on a 3. Had an interesting up and under move off a drive that went in for him off the glass. Really nice move. And then Arkansas really shut his ass down in the second half. I thought he rushed. I mean, he's a guy that's a quick trigger anyway, but I thought he was a little bit desperate on a couple of his three attempts, and he was unplayable after a while. I don't think they finished with him in the game down the stretch. Warwick hit some big threes in this game. Tamar Bates. But if you really add up a lot of these veteran guards that have carried this Missouri team to some really big wins, Arkansas's backcourt was superior. There's no other way to explain 18 for Nelly, 17 for DJ, 14 for Knox. I mean, 31, 49, that was nearly 50 points. 49 of Arkansas's 92 points came from their 1, 2, and 3. That's the Arkansas, and again, Missouri's got veteran guys back there. Tamar Bates, I mentioned the Warwick. I'm leaving some other ones out. Robinson is another guy. I think he averages double figures. Arkansas's guards were just lights out against that backcourt. I thought Arkansas did a good job on Mark Mitchell. I don't recall what he finished with. He probably got double digits. So I do. I think Arkansas's backcourt players were better in this game, and I thought Arkansas's front court was also better when you look at the final numbers. Even though when you look at the offensive glass, I mean, I guess that's the one area we could say not so much, but everything else it was there. All right, I'm going to sign off. 52 minutes in. Thank you for joining me on HogvilleNET YouTube Live. It's been my post game. This was again, your fourth quad one win, so it's one of your top four important games of the season so far in terms of what went well and how it finished. Still a long way to go. Let's just run through this real quick before I say goodbye. 4-9 in quad one games, 1-2 in quad two, 4-0 in quad three, 7-0 in quad four. Again, the way from home resume is solid. Arkansas's gotten a quality win at home. That'll look good on the resume. And on a day where two other SEC teams on the bubble got big quad one home wins, this one was actually a tick better. The margin was a little better than the other two, not much, but the ranking of the team, not only in the polls, but in net, was better. So Arkansas not only didn't lose ground, maybe slightly gained a little bit. And then you had two other SEC bubble teams lose. And I think Wake Forest, another bubble team that's kind of jostling with Arkansas, had a goofy loss today to North Carolina State, which is awful after a Final Four run last year. But the Arkansas Razorbacks, 92-85 over 15th ranked Missouri. If it's not a must win, it's as close as you get until next time. And we will jump in if there's something breaking. I know I always say that and then nothing breaks. But until next time, take care. We'll see you then.